All right. I think everybody is now in and connected. So good evening and welcome to our final installment of this year's New Leader Learning Series for Girl Scouts of South Carolina Mountains to Midlands, wrapping up the year, finances, and summer. My name is Mary Pedrick, and I'm the manager of our volunteer training and engagement program. Joining me this evening as our staff subject matter expert is Jamie Bowling, Community Development Manager. We are very excited to have you with us for this learning experience. Before we dive into the content, I would like to take a moment to check our technical knowledge and give you all a chance to introduce yourselves. So if you wouldn't mind, first of all, let me inform you that I'm working on multiple screens just to make sure everybody knows if I look away, I'm actually looking at you over on this other screen here so I can see your faces. So if you would let me know that you know how to use some Zoom features, I would like for you to please chat your name. So put your name in the Zoom chat box. And then also please raise your Zoom virtual hand. So you should see a menu on Zoom for reactions. And in that reactions menu, you should see an option for raise hand. Just to repeat, if you would please type your name in the chat box for our roll call. And then to make sure we can all find our Zoom menu options, if you could look in your Zoom for your menu and then look for reactions. And in reactions, you should see raise hand as an option, if you would click on that. All right. When I call on you, I'm going to get you guys to all introduce yourselves, share a little bit about yourselves. But let's go ahead and give Jamie a chance to tell you a little bit about herself and her role as CDM, and then we'll get started with everybody else.
Hi. I don't think I know many of you on here, but I cover the Greenwood, Aiken, not Saluda, Clinton, Lawrence, McCormick areas in Abbeville. I've been here 14 and a half years, but my role as a CDM is to work one-on-one with leaders like yourself. We're doing recruitment, adding new girls. We're making sure you have the knowledge you need, as well as that for anything you need to help run your troop. And this time of year is the fun part with the adult recognition, as well as end of the year paperwork. So what we're going to do tonight, and I'm going to give it back over to Mary, but she's going to go over all the details about how to do that, all the fun financial end of the year paperwork. That I am also a troop leader of my daughter's troop, and I will be doing one with y'all this year as well. So if you have any questions about anything, I'll be happy to answer through chat or afterwards whenever you need anything. Thank y'all for coming.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. So what I'm going to do is call on you by name. And when I call on you, if you will please click to unraise your hand and then click to unmute so that you can tell us just a little bit about you, your troop, why you came to this webinar tonight. Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie Meekins. I am one of the co-leaders of Troop 1214 in Columbia. My daughter is a second grade Brownie and has been there since being a kindergarten Daisy, but I am new to being a co-leader. And so I just kind of wanted to go over the paperwork and the processes.
Okay, great. Glad to have you. Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie Tuggle, co-leader of Troop 3494. And our troop is Daisies this year. It's going to be Daisy Brownie next year. And I'm here because this is my first year doing financial reports for Girl Scouts.
All right. Good to have you. Thanks, Bonnie. Chris.
Chris Barberry, also from Troop 3494. My daughter's a first grade Daisy out of Indian Land, and just trying to help Bonnie and the other troop leaders just joined as a co-leader. So
That's fantastic. Thank you for your support of your troop. Tabitha.
Hi, I'm Tabitha Catalier. I just joined as the co-leader for Troop 70070. And I am just trying to help them out with finances and programs and things, and just trying to make sure all the paperwork's in line.
All right. Thanks, Tabitha. Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Harding. I'm from Troop 17131 in Indian Land. And this is We have first and second year daisies, but it's our first year as a troop.
All right, thanks so much. Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda Harris. I'm from Troop 17121 in Simpsonville, South Carolina. It's our first year, so I'm here to learn so that I'm ready for the end of the year.
Sounds great. You're right down the road from me. I'm in Malden.
Okay.
Jen.
I'm Jennifer. I'm Troop 17144. It's a Daisy troop. We have kindergartner and first graders. My daughter's in first grade. This is my second time being leader, but in first time in South Carolina, and I never had to do the financials before at the end of the year, so I want to know how to do it this time. And I'm in Simpsonville also.
Okay. Well, hey, good to see you. Did I miss anybody? I called based on the raised hand icon.
Me.
Hey.
I joined a little late.
Oh, that's
Rose.
okay.
I am 23355 for multi-level DCs 3 cadets, and everybody, every organization defines what goes in their annual financial report slightly differently. So I remind myself every year how to define it to fill out the form.
All right. And Rose is a veteran troop leader, been with us for a few years. And so we're glad to have a little bit of that perspective on the call with us. Thanks, Rose. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. As we get ready to begin this learning experience, I had you check to make sure you knew where the raise hand was and where the chat box was so that you could use those as we go through. Primarily, I'm going to be focusing on delivering the information to you. If you do have a question and you want to interrupt anything, please either raise your hand or type in the chat, and Jamie will keep an eye on that for me. And otherwise, we'll also, after I go through the whole form, we're going to do a walkthrough of the financial form. After I go through the whole thing, at the end of it, we'll pause and take some time for specific questions on that before we move on to the rest of the content for tonight's webinar as well. So here we go. All right. And so here's the agenda. We're going to do a walkthrough of the report. Then we'll pause for a question and answer. And then we'll look at some summer activity ideas for your troop and for you as adult volunteers. And then we'll wrap up by getting kind of those gears turning for thoughts on next year. So let's get started by looking at this report. First off, there is an old PDF version of the annual financial report that may still be accessible online with a search. And some people may have downloaded this PDF form and saved it to their computers. It might be saved in service unit files and folders and things like that. So we do want to ask that you please do not use this document. All troop financial reports should be submitted using the digital form on Volunteer Toolkit that is set up by GSUSA. That form has been live since April 1st. If you have any issues and you're unable to complete your report through VTK or unable to access that report through VTK, please reach out to your CDM and or to customer care so that we can make sure to get those issues resolved so you can fill it out online for us. We do have some frequently asked questions about financial reports, so we want to be sure to provide a little clarity on a couple of those. First of all, why is it required? So all Girl Scout councils are required by Girl Scouts of the USA and the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, for the following reasons: to make sure that proper records of funds are maintained and kept on file at the council office for audit purposes, to protect the interest of troop or service units, to protect volunteers, to provide helpful information for new volunteers assuming leadership of an existing group, so for transition purposes, to answer any council questions on the whereabouts of group funds and or the use of such funds, for troops to be approved for troop money earning projects, and for service units to receive funding or product program bonuses. So there are a multitude of reasons why this is required. I'm sorry, I know it takes time, but it's just one of those things. Today, specifically, we are looking at the annual troop financial report. If you have questions about any other financial reporting that somebody may have mentioned to you or told you about, please reach out to your CDM for assistance on those. We will not be addressing anything except the annual Troop financial report in this webinar. It is important to note that only one co-leader should complete the form for each troop. So, for example, a couple of you were in the same troop, so only one of you needs to fill that out. You can work through it together and support each other and help each other, but only one co-leader fills out the form. So anybody else, be sure to have that conversation with your co-leader or co-leaders to ensure that only one of you does it. Before beginning to fill out the form, you will want to have several documents or pieces of financial data on hand in order to complete it with accuracy, such as the troop bank account information, a digital copy of the most recent bank account statement, which would probably be a downloaded PDF file, receipts and documentation for expenses and income, and both fall product and cookie proceeds information if your troop participated in those programs. So let's begin. To access the troop annual financial report, you're going to be going through Volunteer Toolkit. So first, you'll go to our website, gssc-mm.org, then click on the MyGS icon in the top right area of your screen. You'll need to use the login information, the credentials that you use to set up your MyGS account. If you, like me, have multiple email addresses and so many passwords you don't even have a clue where most of them are, you can always click on the Forgot Password link to help you recover your login information. Once you've logged into MyGS, click on My Account in the top right area of the menu options. On the left, you'll see a vertical list of menu options. From there, click on Volunteer Toolkit. Next, click on the Finances tab that is within the Volunteer Toolkit menu. So it's kind of a third of the way down the screen. If your account is associated, your MyGS, your Volunteer Toolkit account is associated with more than one troop, make sure that you have selected the correct one from the drop-down menu list prior to beginning to fill the form. All right, before we get started, this is kind of a peek at the first page. It's good to note a couple of things. One, that your changes will be saved automatically. So if you start filling things out and you realize, oh my gosh, I don't have this document, or I can't find this record, I forgot to print this out, whatever it might be, you can come back and it'll be saved for you. It's also beneficial to know going into it that the form comes loaded with informational hints for the details that are needed in each portion of the form. So they give you some ideas of what type of data they're looking for there. Before beginning to look at the dollar amounts and entering dollar amounts, it's also important to share a reminder at this moment that all troop money belongs to the entire troop. Income that gets into the troop account is for every girl in the troop. So for example, you will not list each girl's cookie income separately because the money was raised on behalf of all members of the troop, not that one girl. It's that kind of concept. It's for the good of the whole. So there's no independent writing any funding that came down related to any individual girl. It's all for the troop as a whole. So as you begin, you'll start by entering income. Step one is the national registration fee, which is membership fees. If you collect them for your troop, you'll enter that total dollar amount here. Some people don't. Parents might pay for it online, but some troops collect the money and pay for it that way. Some troops use funds that they've earned throughout the year with product sales to pay for those for their girls. If that applies to you, that's where you enter that here. Step two, if your troop charges annual dues, enter that dollar amount here. Many new troops may collect dues, while many long existing troops may not. Step three, if your troop participated in the fall product program, you'll look at your M2 Media fall product account and check the troop summary report for proceeds. That's where you're going to find the dollar amount that you'll enter here in this space. Step four, If your troop participated in the cookie product program, you'll look at your eBuddy cookie account and check the troop sales report for your proceeds. Enter that dollar amount here. Step 5. If you collected money for troop programs or service unit programs or programs hosted by council staff, you'll record that dollar amount here for programs and events. Step 6. If you collected money for troop travel or for camping trips, record that total dollar amount here. Step 7. If you collected or received money for any other reason for the troop, record that total dollar amount in this line. And then once you have entered all of those dollar amounts, your total income will automatically populate. So you don't need to do the math, it'll do it for you. After we do income, then we got to do outgoing. So we're going to look at expenses. Many of these line items should reflect the same amounts that you reported for income. It's the same category. The idea is an in and an out. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking for here. So step 1, if troop money was used to pay for national registration dues, enter that total amount here. Step 2, if your troop participated in the fall product program, enter the dollar amount here for any expenses that were used for that. Step 3, if your troop participated in the cookie product program, enter the dollar amount for those expenses here. That does include if you made any purchases for a physical booth, such as a table or a rolling cart, those would be entered here as expenses. Step 4, if you spent troop money for troop, service unit, or council program participation, record that total dollar amount here. Step 5, if you spent money for troop travel or camping trips, record that total dollar amount here.
We have another question, Maggie.
Okay,
Raise her
sure.
hand. And Rose, I'm getting the answer to that, and I'll answer in just a minute, okay? She wrote in chat, and we'll address that in a minute once I get the correct,
Okay, sure.
correct answer.
So if the troop uses cookie dough to pay the national registration fees, do we count that as an expense since it's not, I mean, it's Girl Scout bucks, right? It's not actual.
Basically, if money is coming into your account, you count it.
Okay.
So whether you pay it or not, it doesn't
So
really
if it's
matter.
cookie
Except
dough,
that's
then-
never money that goes into your account. So
got it.
that wouldn't show up on your bank statement.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good question, Maggie. Thank you. All right, you want to address Rose's question?
Her first question, I'm getting the answer. I think I know it, but I'm just getting clarification because I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I will address it once I hear back.
Okay. And program expenses, also service unit programs, anything programmatic related where girls are working toward being a participant in their Brownie program or Daisy program or senior program. So yes, also for service unit programs was that
Yes,
question.
sorry, I didn't see that question, but yes.
No, that's okay. I'm correct, right?
Yeah. Programs go with anything that you're actually going to an event like a service unit or council, or it can be programming is just some of the activities you do at like to earn the Journey awards or anything like that, except like Take Action, that's separate, but all of that. So that will be probably a large percentage of your expense. It's the program expense.
All right, thank you. So we'll come back to that other question once Jamie's got it. Programming includes material consumables too. Those are,
As long as it's
different
is there
line.
can you go back to, let's see. You could put it under troop equipment.
Those are in step 9.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay.
So down, yeah, we're almost to that one. So not the same as program.
And if you get confused and you have that, and if you put something in programming that should have been under materials, we're not going to come and hunt you down and say you did this wrong. You have receipts, hopefully, to back up. So it's not going to be a huge thing. We still see it as an expense and that you could back up. So don't like stress that you're going to put it in the wrong section. And if there's a question, we look over it. We might ask, well, what there's so much in this category. Can you just give me a few details about why you spent so much in that area this year? And then you can say that. So, oh, okay, that makes sense. That in the future, just put it in this section or something like that. So there's no like going to get in trouble for putting in the wrong section. We might just have a question, and that's why I save your receipts so you can just get clarification. And I have the answer to the first question.
Okay. And that question was what do you do if I have one or more red flags from a product sale?
And I asked Lynn
before the red flags, so what to enter as income?
Yes, so I asked Lynn just to make sure, and she said she would enter exactly what she has income for. She can make a note later in the report that X amount of dollars of red flags outstanding for a troop. There's a note section at the end if you want to just put that in there, but you only account for what you actually have income for. That's actually come through your account.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Okay, so do we enter expenses that we are not going to reimburse ourselves for? If it did not go through your account, this is basically, you're going to pull out every your bank statements that you've done for the year. So if whatever money was deposited, we need to know what it was deposited from. Anything that's taken out, we need to know why you're taking it out. If no money ever came in the account, if you're putting money that's never been shown on the bank statement, it's going to be like, well, where'd this money come from? Why do you have extra money that's on the bank account? So if it was like out of your troop leader account, that's for you and your taxes, or you and your thing. That's technically wasn't a troop purchase. That was a leader purchase because she just wanted to do that. So a troop purchase, anything that's on this report will be on your bank statement.
Right. Yeah, just keep in mind, this is for the troop bank account. So no other bank accounts are going to be involved or reported here at all, only for the troop bank account. Let's knock out the rest of this, and then we'll go back to the open floor Q&A when we get finished with the form, just because we've had a couple kind of jump ahead. So as far as the answers go, so let's see if we can knock the rest of this out real quick, and then we'll come back to questions. All right, so step 6 here, still in expenses, is if troop money was used to pay for anything related to girl uniforms, including fun patches, enter the total amount here. Step 7, if your troop spent money for take action service projects, include that dollar amount here. Step 8, if your troop funds were used to purchase food or drinks for meetings, ceremonies, or events, enter that dollar amount of those expenses here. And step 9, if you spent troop money for equipment such as camping items or badge work supplies, so that's kind of the arts and crafts piece that you asked about a minute ago, record that total dollar amount here. So these are supplies. And this is a good time to mention that if items are purchased with troop funds, the items belong to and should remain with the troop. So if there is troop leader turnover, please be sure that all of those kinds of items are passed along to the new leader. And if you have items that your troop no longer needs, check in at your next service unit meeting. See if you can donate those to the service unit. Maybe they could use a set of camping stoves. If your troop is no longer going to be doing camping trips, they've just decided that's not something they want to do. You know, maybe those stoves could be donated to the service unit so that they could be shared with other troops in your SU. Or maybe there's a specific troop that wants to utilize them and you could pass them along to that troop. But just to make sure that we know that anything that troop funds paid for belong to the troop and that they get shared from leader to leader. All right, step 10, if troop money was used to pay for supplies for troop programmatic supplies, here's the arts and crafts. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Here's the arts and crafts part. So this is the program supplies. This would be the badge work types of supplies that would, unlike the camping supplies that are going to stick around and could be used year after year, the program supplies are probably going to be a one-time use potentially because they're for that one particular activity that girls are going to be doing in their meeting to earn their badges. My apologies for misspeaking on that one. And the final step, if troop funds were spent on anything else, if there is money coming out of your troop bank account and you don't see anywhere that it falls into any of those other categories, put that dollar amount here. And once you'd enter all of these, just like the income, it'll do the math for you and it'll automatically populate. On the financial summary page, which is next, the ending balance should theoretically match your bank account balance. The amount should also theoretically be zero, with the idea being that you raised money to purchase things for use in your troops so that they could participate in activities or conduct bad work. And then that money went and was spent for those specific purposes. So that's, again, theory. It's not necessarily going to happen, but that's the theory behind it. If your ending balance is not zero and is over $100, please be sure that you click the green plus button here on this page so that you can add a note to your troop financial summary explaining why you think things are unbalanced, what reason you may have for having over $100 sitting in the account. So if it wasn't spent on something it was intended for, what's sort of the reason behind that? And it's also important to note this yellow note down here at the bottom of the screen that, in case you are unaware, transparency is very important where Girl Scout finances are concerned. So caregivers will have access through their MyGS to view the details of the financial report for your troop. They can't access it to edit, but they will be able to view it if they want to. After you finish putting in all of your income and expenditures, you'll then enter your troop bank account information. So this is why that was one of those documents that you may want to have gathered ahead of time. As you do enter the checking account information for your troop bank account, please be sure that the account and the signers here are related to the troop, that it should be the co-leaders that are the checking account signers, and that you haven't accidentally entered your personal bank account information because your computer recognizes it or remembers it or something to that effect. In the next portion of the financial report, you're going to enter some information related to the troop status. So first, please indicate whether your troop will be returning, or potentially if you are merging with another troop, or possibly disbanding for the coming year. And if you are not sure or disbanding, please take time to reach out to your community development manager for support with that. And then once you enter that, you'll enter your service unit information, so your SU name and your SU number. And then on the next screen, you will see 4 questions that are prompting you to type free response answers by clicking the green plus sign below each one. Please do not answer just yes or no. Give us some answers in complete sentences with as much detail as you can. So the first question is regarding the current year for which the financial report is being submitted. We're looking for you to provide some information regarding your communication with families about the troop year plans and potential volunteer support roles where the families could have participated. The next question is looking ahead to the coming year, responding to basically the same information. Looking forward to next year, what are your plans regarding a family meeting so that you can share schedules and volunteer opportunities with them? The third question is information related to your troops' participation in service unit meetings for the current year. And then looking forward to next year, thinking ahead, what plans do you have or does your troop have regarding participation in service unit meetings? The information collected from these questions really truly does help our staff and our board to assess the health of our council and to identify support needs for troops and service units in the coming year. So we appreciate you responding to those. The final step, you get a chance to preview everything, and that's when you'll also attach your most recent bank account statement document. And then once you verified everything is accurate and complete and have uploaded your document for the bank account statement, don't forget that piece, then you will click Publish Report. You should receive an email within a few days after publishing from your community development manager. They'll confirm your receipt of the form. They may reach out, as Jamie said. It's very common to request additional information or ask a couple of follow-up questions. So if they do, please don't be concerned or alarmed. It's very normal and it doesn't mean you're in trouble. So just making you aware that it's okay if they have questions. It's a very normal part of the process.
And most of the time that we do reach out is because that a bank statement was not attached. That is 99% of the reason why we're contacting you afterwards for something. So that is it's not considered turned in unless that bank statement is with it. A lot of people are always concerned about which bank statement. It doesn't matter. The latest one you have. Yes, it's due June 15th. Some people will think, well, I don't get my June one until June 20th. We'll use May. And then you're going to base it off of when you finish, if you're a new troop, up until the end of the bank statement. So whatever date that statement ends in May or April. And then next year you will start from when you ended this year. So if you want to go ahead and do it now and you only have your March one, next year will be from now until when you do it next year. So if you haven't finished out the year, it's okay. Some people think you have to finish out the whole year. It'll just be on next year's. But we have to have a report from sometime between April and the June 15th. So we know it's going to be based off of different months, but we will figure that part out. And if you have your summer, a lot, because some people think you have to, well, we have a summer trip. Well, that's okay. Whatever expenses you've already spent for that summer trip, you can go ahead and account for, but the rest will be on next year's. But that's always a confusing part. That we know the year some people are still spending money, but we have to have an endpoint at some point. So we're going, I think I said June 15th. I think it's June 30th. It was June 15th, like 10 years ago. But just you don't worry about having that June statement. You can use the May or even April one.
Thank you. If you have questions, it doesn't matter how silly you might think they are or trivial you might think they are. I was 15 years as a classroom teacher, and trust me, if you have a question, somebody else probably does too. And even if they're not here live on this webinar, they might be watching this video afterwards. So if you've got more questions, please ask by raising your hand or typing in the chat. And Tabitha, I see a hand, so you can feel free to unmute and ask.
Yes, thank you. So the due date is June 15th, is that correct?
I believe it's June 30th.
It's June 30th. It was June 15th, like
Okay.
forever ago, and that's just embedded in my head, but it's June 30th.
I
I
gotcha.
apologize about that.
Oh, that's okay. And then also, this is our first year having a bank account, and so we had a fraudulent charge, but I have a letter from the bank and the money was put back in from the bank. So do I need to submit that information?
I would, just
Okay.
because money was taken out, that would be under the other, and you can put a note
Okay.
in there. And
Okay.
you can scan in that other document as well if you'd like to do, or just hold it unless the CDM has questions. But I would, just because that just did happen. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bonnie, I see your question in the chat. The financial report is live. It is in VTK as of 10 days ago, as of April 1st. So you can file it anytime now through June 30th.
One thing that I know we say it is required, but it is required if and we've gotten strict over the past few years, that if you want to participate in our product programming, which is cookies and fall product, we have to have this in by the June 30th date. So that's just one thing, because it's an insane amount of money that goes through the troops. So we have to just hold some of these troops, everybody accountable. Like, I don't like, even myself with my troop, I don't like dealing with all that money that's comes through cookie sales. So I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I'm going to turn in my stuff, make sure it makes me nervous dealing with all that money, but just know that it is a requirement to participate in the programs for next year. So just very important to get this in.
Thank you. Bonnie, if you are not seeing it, once you're in volunteer toolkit and you click on that finances and you check your drop-down list, I'm going to ask you to reach out to your CDM, your community development manager, and that person will be able to help you with that. And if you can't get in touch with them, or you need any other assistance besides me directing you to your CDM, you can contact customer care. You can also reach out to me and I'll help you get in touch with the right person who can give you that tech support. Anybody else have any questions about financial reports? Oh, Tabitha, you got your hand up again?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't apologize.
Like I said, it was our first year doing any product sales and things. So I know it says something about like the $100 or more. Just put a note in there because we've pretty much raised our memberships for next year and some summer fun activities, just like, one or two, and then just funds to get us started, kind of like, just a ripple from, this year pays for next year and so forth kind of thing. Is that okay?
That's what the whole program is about. Right.
Okay. I'm just
Yep.
making sure.
No,
All right,
yeah,
and then
you're
just
doing the right
notate
thing.
it. Okay. Sounds
And
good.
I mean, and you don't have to know what I think there might be a question what you're going to use your money for, but if, like I said, if it hasn't gone through your account yet, you don't put it on there yet. So if it's some of that summer programming you haven't paid for, that will be on next year's account.
Okay.
So it's only what you've actually spent, not what you're
Okay.
planning on spending.
I gotcha.
So we're hoping that you do participate in spring renewal, which that's a whole nother
Oh, yeah.
topic. We'll hear. So that will be in it. So
Okay.
because you're
Perfect.
paying for that now.
We're gonna have over $100 left over for next year because
We have
Yeah.
troops with like 5,000. That's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, just that one little part, just put that in there that we have plans
Yeah.
to use the money for jump starting next year's programs.
I don't know why that's on there because
Perfect.
people are just getting cookie money. Every troop has more than $100.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, you're
Thank
good.
you so much. Thank
Oh, you're
you.
very welcome. Any other questions on financial reports? Okay, well then we will proceed with the rest of our presentation. I do have at the end of all of that, another opportunity for open floor questions in case you think of anything, or if you have questions related to anything else that we're going to be presenting. So I'll continue on. All right, school is out and camp is in. So what do you do with your troop and other leaders this summer? Summer tends to be a time of year where everybody's going every which direction. And so we want to make sure to kind of keep Girl Scouting and your troops on your mind and give you some ideas for how you and your girls can plan to spend some time together this summer. So you might be looking for inspiration, and here are just a couple of ideas. First, you could ask your girls if they want to plan an adventure type excursion, like doing a ropes course or taking a hiking trip, maybe a river tubing trip, or whitewater rafting even. Just make sure that those adventure type activities are age and level appropriate and that you are following all of the guidelines and safety activity checkpoints. Maybe your girls want to escape the summer heat and do something indoors. Perhaps there's an age appropriate movie that they'd like to go see together, or how about roller skating? That seems to be back in vogue, so that's something you could try to plan and go do for fun. They can work ahead on badge work. Maybe they're interested in the home scientist, musician, or novelist badges that they could look at this summer. Perhaps there's a volunteer opportunity for girls to lend a hand to others at the local library or local animal shelter over the summertime. Or do your girls love hands-on arts and crafts? Maybe stuff they can wear or gift to others. You could maybe do a tie-dye shirt or friendship bracelet day. Or they could get a head start making swaps so that they have a boatload of them ready for the coming year for gatherings and trips that they have planned. There are all kinds of ways that you can help your girls stay in touch over the summer and get excited about being a part of their troop for the coming year. Don't forget to keep it girl-led by asking them what they want to do. And what about spending time to come together for you, troop leaders? We're excited to host 2 outdoor social excursions for adult volunteers this year. Next month, coming up in May, we look forward to our Mother's Day Out hiking and camping trip for adult volunteers. It is the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend. If you are interested in joining us or know anybody who is, here's the rundown. It will be a mild backpacking trip, as the car parking is about a half a mile from the campsites. So participants do need to have some experience with that type of activity and with primitive camping. So there's no bathhouse, there's no running potable water, it is primitive, and preferably with backpacking. But because it's just a short hike in, it could also be a great opportunity for a first-time adventure with backpacking. Participants will need to provide all of their own hiking, camping, and backpacking equipment. A list will be emailed out to registrants, and the group will have a mandatory Zoom meeting the week before the excursion. We'll pack up and head out Sunday morning, so that anybody who needs to be back for Mother's Day family activities can get there in a timely manner. And in June, we'll be hosting a day trip to Lake Jocassee for flatwater kayaking. Participants must have experience in touring style kayaking on lakes and must have their own gear, such as a kayak, paddle, or personal flotation device. Space is limited on this one for safety, so if the idea of this adventure really floats your boat, so to speak, be sure to register early to secure your spot. And just for clarity, neither of these excursions are training events. So this is not a camping training and it is not a paddle sports training. It is just a social outing for fun to get adult volunteers together in the outdoors. Both of these events do have a small registration fee. The camping fee will be used to secure your spot and to purchase s'more supplies for around the campfire Saturday night. And the kayaking event fee will be used to secure your spot and to pay for Devil's Fork State Park entrance fees. Details on all of that information will be sent out, including logistics and suggested gear packing will be sent out and communicated with people who are registered for the event. And now looking ahead. So as you are wrapping up this Girl Scouting year, you and your troop might start planning for next year. And although we are still ironing out details for our 23-24 program guide, we wanted to go ahead and give you a few things that you can look forward to in the coming year. So a sneak peek and some dates that you can pencil on your calendar. For girls and troops, you can look for August 13th. We'll be having a Girl Scout Day at the Columbia Fireflies baseball game. September 23rd and 24th will be an opportunity for older girls to sign up to go through program aid or volunteer in training. October 14th is Back in the Woods. December 16th and 17th will be a winter break overnight camp. And March 23rd, 2024 will be Up in the Mountains. So as you're planning with your girls, you may want to go ahead and pencil in those dates to let them know that those opportunities are available. And for adult volunteers, August 5th is our volunteer kickoff event. We hope that you will all be able to join us for this adult training and to get your physical copy of the program guide for the coming Girl Scouting year. Next year, we will host a quarterly new leader Q&A webinar. So those dates are going to be September 5th, December 5th, March 5th, and June 13th. October 20th and 22nd. Don't miss out on Mountain Magic at Camp Wayback. The planning committee started working in January, and we have been working really hard, and we are looking forward to sharing more information about that event coming soon. Next spring, April 20th, is Volunteer Appreciation. I hope that I'm going to see some of you, if not all of you, at this year's event next week. And also next year, the council will be hosting a monthly in-person volunteer engagement events. So some examples are a troop leader use gear swap, a pizza and board games event, and a swaps and ice cream event, as well as a couple of overnight excursions. So we've got a busy calendar just for the adults next year. We hope you'll be able to come and participate in some of them. We want to wrap up with just a few tips on how you can prepare to kick off next year's Girl Scouting season. So first of all, if any of your girls will be bridging to a new level and you haven't led it yet, you may want to take some time over the summer to learn about the new level or levels. You might check GS Learn and review the Leader Basics PDF files. There's one for each level, and you might want to review that if it's a level that's new to you. You might also consider purchasing the adult and girl handbooks for that level from the local gear shop, or check in with your fellow service unit leaders. One of them might have a copy that you could borrow, or maybe even swap them if they'll be leading the level that you previously led. You might want to have a goal setting talk with your troop to make sure that you're keeping next year's planning girl led. You can help the girls reflect on the past year and guide them to begin thinking about the year ahead, driving them to set some personal goals as well as some troop goals for next year. You may want to schedule your meeting dates in advance. So knowing your personal availability, your calendar, types of annual activities that the girls participate in and holidays and things. That way you can let yourself and your family, as well as the girls and their families, know from day one what next year looks like so that there won't be any surprises. It's best practice to always keep it on the same day of the week and the same time if possible. And make sure that you check the local school calendar for things like winter break and spring break. And maybe also check the national calendar for major holidays like Independence Day, Martin Luther King Day, etc. Be sure to attend your SU meetings and look for opportunities to co-plan with your service unit team. There might be other leaders in your area who are working with their girls to plan an excursion, and your girls would love to go do something like that. So always stay connected to your service unit community because you guys can help and support each other. And look for those opportunities to attend social outings with other leaders. Come to volunteer appreciation. Consider the camping trip or the kayaking trip. Reach out to your SU and see if anybody wants to go for a hike. You schedule one. If you're an adult who partakes in alcoholic beverages, maybe you schedule a happy hour with your service unit group. Networking doesn't always have to be working. And start thinking about recruitment. Is your troop growing, or do you want it to? If you know you'll have more girls next fall, does that mean you also may need to be looking at getting more adult volunteers? Are any of your girls bridging to adults and you want to recruit new girls to keep your troop going? Thinking about what's coming down the line and being prepared for how you can be proactive for some of those changes. We are rolling out Rallyhood and training is coming. So be thinking about how you could use that to organize and streamline some of your things. If you haven't yet created a login and haven't connected on Rallyhood yet, this summer gives you a great opportunity to spend a little time exploring that. We have a service unit manager training coming in May, and we have troop leader training coming up in July. And if you don't know anything about it, it's a one-stop shop for you to build basically a troop website. It's got a website feature, social media type feature, event calendar, document sharing, photo sharing, sign-up lists, payment acceptance through Stripe. It's kind of all-in-one, and we've got that available for you to use. So if you haven't looked into it yet, summer could be a great opportunity for that. And then lastly, make sure you are ready. Is your membership renewal coming up? Have you already paid it? Do you have volunteer kickoff on your calendar? I just gave you that date of August 5th. Make sure you're prepared to come to that event. Is your CPR or first aid coming up for renewal, or do you need to schedule a class? And lastly, make sure that you take some time for yourself to refresh and recharge before you dive back in as well. So take a break this summer, enjoy some days on the beach or up in the mountains, whatever your preference might be, or just sitting with a good book on your couch. But make sure that you are ready for the coming year along with everything else. Does anybody have any other questions? You can raise your hand or type it in the chat. All right. Well, then I think that is a wrap. So thank you all so much for coming and attending tonight. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for participating. We do hope to see you at maybe some of you are coming to our outdoor badge workshop this weekend, and maybe some of you are coming to volunteer appreciation next weekend. And thank you for your support of our council, and we hope you have a wonderful night.